Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Oh yeah, we are live. I was looking the other one.
We were just having a little chat there.
Yeah. Elise was saying good day to everybody. I love it, to everyone. Thank you, Elise. How are you doing today? And we obviously have the beautiful Anthony Comstock that says...
Morena from Rodeo, California.
So you even have to read that.
I know. I just want to make sure. One day he might throw us off with like some different wording.
Yeah. So Laura, what does Morena mean?
It means good morning in the Maori language.
All right, so welcome everybody to the NZ Travel Show. This is a show that happens weekly. It is today, Sunday, the 23rd of April, 2023. It's 8 a.m. Every Sunday at 8 a.m. We're here with you for an hour to talk travel in New Zealand. So if you have any questions, go nuts in the comments. We're here to help you plan the perfect trip to the perfect country. Also, that's what we believe here in New Zealand. All right, what is Sherry saying?
Sherry says, good morning, guys. Sorry I missed last week. I was in Tasmania.
Oh, did you get to see a Tasmanian devil?
That's the only thing we know about
I want to see a Tasmanian devil once in my life.
Yeah.
You know, from this, the Looney Tunes, you know, there's like
Yeah.
Taz, yeah. So I want to see one. I just want to see if they do like, you know,
the spinning
tornadoes and stuff. Okay, Elise says, why is New Zealand not want Nigeria to come with an e-visa? Please, I need an answer. So it's not that we don't want people from Nigeria. It's just that the New Zealand government has partnership with governments from all around the world, and usually they're bilateral partnerships. So you have to negotiate and sort out the partnership between both countries. And when you are able to come to New Zealand with a certain visa, then usually New Zealanders are able to come to the other countries with another type, you know, with a similar type of visas, right? So that's kind of like the working holiday visa scheme. Those kind of things work in such a way. On top of that, for the e-visa, it needs to be linked to an e-passport. So if your country doesn't provide e-passport and provide just normal passport, therefore it's not working with the whole e-visa system, and basically in short, the e-passport is the passport that has a massive electronic component which will record all your travel history, a lot of extra information for you, and you know, that will have access to the to an entire system. So it's a passport that can be scanned like electronically. When you put it in a machine, there is basically a chip in it, and it will be able to access your electronic file. So it's more a matter of like requirements rather than not wanting people from Nigeria. People from all countries in the world can actually apply for a visitor visa, and that's how it used to be, like for many years, for decades in fact. And then slowly, like the system is getting easier, and so like you start with 5 countries, then you add 5 more, then it kind of grows, right? And so now we have like a few dozens, and it's gonna keep on growing, obviously, but it takes time to basically standardize a system worldwide, right? It doesn't just come straight away. And there are some countries which are leading the charge for like e-visas, countries from Europe or North America, which are basically the builders of the system, and then New Zealand kind of tag along with it. So that is a little bit of the story behind that. It's not that we don't want people from Nigeria. There is great Nigerian community here, and so yeah, happy times. What is Sherry saying?
Sherry says Tasmanian devils are cute. They sound like devils when they eat, though, which can sound scary. Well,
oh yeah, they eat like ravenously. Yeah.
That's what you and Tasmanian devils have in common.
I eat ravenously, apparently. Yeah.
You eat like a devil.
Adil is here. How are you doing, Adil? We missed you in the last couple of weeks. I literally answered your question at the end of every
live show. Yeah.
Elise says, but I have a lot of clients who have e-visa, so what we'll do now? So the best thing to do is to contact Immigration New Zealand. So there is a law in New Zealand that says that if you're not a registered immigration advisor in New Zealand, with Immigration New Zealand, you do not have the right legally to provide immigration advice or immigration services to people. So it is illegal for us to give you any immigration advice, and that probably wouldn't be so good for you to give immigration advice to other people when it comes down to New Zealand, as you have to be a registered immigration advisor in New Zealand to do that. So the best way is to actually contact Immigration New Zealand and let the professional deal with that. That's their job. That's what they do best. And we don't dabble in that. We talk about tourism. We talk about traveling. That's kind of what we do here.
Indeed.
Okay, so as you guys continue with your question, those are some great questions, so keep on going. But we also have a bit of a theme this week that's kind of going to be something that's keep us busy in between questions throughout this live show. And therefore, let's introduce this week's theme. Alright, so this week the theme is pretty awesome. It is the weather in May. So if you're planning to travel in New Zealand and you don't want to see any other tourists, if you want to come in the low season of New Zealand, and if you also want to save a lot of money on travel, well, therefore May is a pretty good month to travel. It is admittedly one of the rainiest months. However, the weather in New Zealand is ever changing, so you may be able to make the most out of an epic holiday in New Zealand in May. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about all the weather patterns, rainfalls, everything you need to know, and we're even going to share some travel tips if you're planning to come to New Zealand in May. All right, what is Anthony saying?
Anthony says, I may not be here for next week's session because I'm having my thumb operated on, so I won't be able to use my right hand for a couple of weeks. So I might not be here for next week's session.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Well, we'll ask everybody to give a thumbs up emoji for you in support of Anthony. So, yeah, I'm always keen for some good emojis.
Yeah.
So everybody give us a thumbs up in the chat right now to support for Anthony. Elise says, but the guys are not going to New Zealand, they are going to the Cook Islands. Well, then at that point, they only need a NZDT, so a transit visa, to come through New Zealand. Again, feel free to contact Immigration New Zealand to sort that out. You do need to do some research. If you're advising people on traveling through or to New Zealand, you've got to do your research. You can't just advise people and just kind of like get the wrong visa. So just to make sure that you do your research, Elise. So you will need a transit visa basically. Okay, Sherry says, I like the matching jackets. That's true. Actually, we do wear that quite often, but
yeah, they're both from the same company.
What's the name of the company?
This is Mons Royale,
Mons
which
Royale,
are based in Wanaka, but they're sold all over New Zealand.
Yeah, and Merino Wool, Sherry. I know we talked about that last week, so here you go. Gabrielle is here saying kia ora. How are you doing, Gabrielle? Nice to have you on board. All right, so as you guys keep on going with some awesome New Zealand travel questions, we're going to get started with our segment, and we're going to begin with some tips for visiting New Zealand in May. And in order to give you a few tips for visiting New Zealand in May, here's the beautiful Laura.
All right, our first tip for traveling in May is to be prepared for 4 seasons in a day, which is kind of a famous saying about the weather in New Zealand, is that the weather's very changeable. So when you're out and about exploring New Zealand each day, make sure that you have a day pack with you. And in that day pack, you're carrying maybe an extra layer, a rain jacket. So you have space in there even to take off a layer if it gets too hot. So just be prepared for any weather. And be prepared with a day pack as you are out in the great outdoors. Our next tip is to consider May as the low season in New Zealand. So that means that there's less tourists and even locals traveling around the country. That's a great time to get cheaper car rentals. You can also travel a bit more spontaneously. So if you're not really wanting to book your accommodation in certain places too early in advance, then you can usually wait a little bit, closer to the date in May compared to other months throughout in New Zealand. So yeah, May is the low season, and it means that you can be a bit more relaxed on your travel planning. If you're driving to some of the more mountainous regions, for instance, if you're on the South Island traveling over, say, Arthur's Pass or Haas Pass, Linda's Pass, all that sort of thing, then just look out for travel warnings. If there has been snow that has landed on those sort of high altitude regions, you might need to have snow chains if you are passing over there and there has been snow. So just keep an eye on sort of travel warnings for those areas. If you're doing a working holiday in New Zealand and you're looking to sort of work for the ski season, maybe work in some ski fields, then May is a good time to actually start applying for those jobs. It's a bit earlier than the season is starting, but you need to get in there early and sort of set up your set up all the living, the job and everything like that early before the ski season actually starts. And if you're doing any long hikes, make sure that you are checking for track updates on the Department of Conservation website. There's interchangeable weather, which can sometimes lead to track closures, that sort of thing. So just before you're about to set off on a hike, make sure that you look for any red alerts on the Department of Conservation website and make sure that the track is ready to go.
All right, awesome. That's really, really good. Elise is saying, so I should contact Immigration New Zealand. Yes, absolutely. Contact Immigration New Zealand and sort that out with them. And if you want to plan some good and cool stuff to do in New Zealand, in the Cook Islands, while you are visiting the Cook Islands, you can check out cookislandspocketguide.com, which is our travel guide to the Cook Islands. And speaking of the Cook Islands, we have a bit of a different segment today, haven't we, Laura? We have something.
We do indeed.
Something new. So yeah, we'll see that in a second. We'll talk about the Cook Island, Elise, in a bit of a second. What is Gabrielle saying?
Gabrielle says, I've got a working holiday visa and I'm arriving in Auckland on the 8th of June. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, that is awesome. So you're arriving just as the winter season in New Zealand is starting, but luckily in Auckland it never really feels too much like winter.
It's a great time to arrive in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a good time to come and sort of explore the country a little bit, especially when it is the low season also in June, so you're not going to find it so busy as you're traveling around. We definitely recommend doing a bit of traveling first before you sort of find a job and find a place to live and stuff, because you never can really tell what a place is going to be like and if it's going to be great for you until you actually go there and visit it, see if it is your vibe.
Yeah, and Gabrielle, if you want our support for your gap year in New Zealand, you want to be able to ask us questions all the time and everything, feel free to consider joining us on Patreon. There is a link in the description of this video. It starts at only $5 a month, which is dead cheap, and you'll have access to like a secret Facebook group where you can ask us questions all week long, not just during this 1 hour, and many other perks, including our help planning your trip and all that. And Armand from Armand's Biggest Gap Year, he's one of the Patreon there in the group as well. And there's a lot of interaction there. It's a lot of fun, and I think you'll benefit a lot from it.
Yeah.
All right. Adil says, all the best for the operation, Anthony. I wish you a speedy recovery. Yeah, nobody is giving a thumbs up for Anthony. Can we get some thumbs up in the chat, guys?
Maybe it's inappropropriate, Robin. He's not going to be able to use his thumb.
What do you mean?
Maybe like peace sign, guys. Like, fingers.
The two other fingers. All right, guys. Let's do something a little bit different. Here's an untitled segment for you guys. Something different. What will it be? Well, here you go. All right. So our friend Anthony from Australia.
Joey.
Not Joey. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. So our friend Joey is he's one of our Patreon, and he came to travel to New Zealand and the Cook Islands, and he decided to send us a little bit of a video of what he did. So right here we are in the beautiful Cook Island. The first shot was Queenstown.
Yeah.
But right here we're in the Murray Lagoon, right here in Rarotonga, where he's doing a bit of snorkeling. We suspect with Captain Tama Cruises. Yeah. This is a bit of a cultural show that's happening in his resort.
All right, so it looks like it's one of the island nights that they do around the islands, and there's a lot of cultural dancing, followed by a big feast of amazing local food, and then more lovely snorkeling, as you can see.
The water's so clear there, isn't it?
I know, that's the great thing about
the Cook Islands.
The Cook Islands. The islands are surrounded by gorgeous lagoons, which means that there's not, it's protected by reefs. Therefore, you haven't got all these waves sort of like murking up the water and stuff. So the water clarity is often amazing for seeing some beautiful tropical fish.
Yeah, snorkeling in Rarotonga and the Cook Islands is always quite an amazing experience, and something which is quite unforgettable. The amount of colorful fish that you can very easily access is quite amazing, and that's one of the main draw to the islands of the Cook Islands. So this is Rarotonga. So you're basically seeing pretty much the entirety of Rarotonga right here in the shot, because
it's
the island is really not that big.
Yeah.
Not that big, yeah. And we're moving back to New Zealand right now. We are in Kaikoura, from the warm water of the Cook Islands to the glacial water of the South Island of New Zealand. We're having Joey right here dabbing with some dolphins. What type of dolphins is it, Laura?
Yeah, so in Kaikoura, you mainly swim with dusky dolphins, which swim in enormous pods. So often when you are swimming with dolphins in Kaikoura, you are surrounded by, literally there's hundreds of dolphins, and a lot of curious ones will come up to you and check you out, just as they are doing right now in the video that Joey sent us. And yeah, they're also really known for their acrobats as well. So as you're traveling by boat, you'll see them often sort of trying to keep up with the boats.
And then jumping really high
out of the water. So that's really awesome.
But we're already in Hobbiton. We moved on to a beautiful Hobbiton right here, which is obviously one of the biggest attractions on the North Island of New Zealand. Everybody's kind of make that a mandatory stop.
Yeah, whether you're a Lord of the Rings sort of fan or not, it's usually one of the sort of places to hit on the North Island.
Obviously, you've got to hit Hobbiton. So during the tour, you walk a little bit around Hobbiton, as well as getting a beer or one beverage of your choice at the tavern over there. Yes. Which the tavern is?
The Green Dragon Tavern.
There you go. All right, we are in Rotorua now with beautiful Waiotapu, and it's amazing geothermal. So it's a Waiotapu thermal park. But now we're still in Rotorua, and now we are
at the Treetop Walk, which is in the Redwoods Forest.
And we're back in Waiotapu right here with some geothermal features. Now we are in the Tongariro National Park at beautiful Taranaki Falls, and this one is?
I think it is either Cathedral Cove or Golden Bay. Yeah. I feel like I can't quite remember.
I think it's Golden Bay, but I'm not sure. Now we had obviously Lake Wanaka with the world famous Wanaka tree. And this show was sponsored by GoPro. Oh, and by the way, we started with Queenstown. I didn't have the time to kind of show it. But yeah, so that was really cool to have a video from Joey. Thank you very much for sending us a video and kind of help us inspire people to travel. That was the entire segment.
That was our untitled segment.
Exactly. That's what I meant. I didn't screw up everything. You see, that's different. We do things differently, and then I get all mangled in my head. All right. So thank you very much to Joey for sending us some videos of his trip. That's really cool to be able to kind of showcase a little bit of what you guys are up to when you're in New Zealand. I know that when we're traveling around New Zealand, we're doing a lot of different activities, and we do them more thoroughly. We usually do much more, many activities in one day. So what we do is very different than what the average tourist will be doing, just because obviously we're doing it for work. So we love to see some of your footage, some of your videos and everything. So yeah, more contributors, the better. I'll say. So yeah, that was quite fun. What was your favorite part of all the activities that Joey has been doing?
I think the dolphin swimming was pretty cool. It's just really cool to how close they get to you as well, and it does feel like it's non-obtrusive way of seeing wildlife as well. It's like you are there and the wildlife come to you type thing, rather than being in a confined space or anything. So yeah, I think dolphin swimming is really special.
Yeah, I think my favorite would have been the swimming in the Cook Islands. just because the warm embrace of the warm water when you jump in there. You know,
Yeah.
right now we are in the late April, so we are slowly making our way toward winter, and it starts getting a little cold. As Sherry was pointing out, we're both wearing matching jumper right now, so that means we're cold. So yeah, it is. I kind of like envy the Cook Islands.
And for anyone that doesn't know like where the Cook Islands is or what the Cook Islands is, then the Cook Islands is it's actually a archipelago of tropical islands that is only about a 3-hour flight from New Zealand. Yet the sort of transition of traveling from New Zealand to the Cook Islands is very easy. The culture's very similar to the New Zealand Maori. They have the Cook Islands Maori as the local culture there. And they all, you know, it's an English-speaking country as well. So just like visiting the Cook Islands is basically like a tropical version of going to New Zealand. So if you are looking for a tropical escape while you are in New Zealand, then Cook Islands is a really easy sort of beautiful country to sort of transition to and enjoy some holiday time.
And if you want to learn more about the Cook Island, you can check out, obviously, cookislandspocketguide.com. It is our travel guide to the Cook Island. Look at our dashing face right here on that website. There is hundreds and hundreds of articles to help you plan the perfect trip to the Cook Island. It's all free to use, so yeah, go nuts. Head to the Cook Islands. It's fun. Okay, so what else do we have on the live chat, Laura?
So Cherie was giving all the good thumbs up to Anthony, so
nice.
very nice. And she says, "I wish Hobbiton sold non-alcoholic cider." Yeah, I suppose like
you can get non-alcoholic beverage, but it's not. Yeah, it's not.
Probably
ciders.
not as nice as like maybe some of. I actually don't know what their non-alcoholic range is. Like, I imagine they just give.
Yeah, Laura is a raging drunk. So
I only ever have cider.
She, you know, like in the morning she wakes up and she goes straight for vodka. So it's all like
I wouldn't
Laura
know what non-alcoholic is.
She doesn't even have an understanding of what non-alcoholic beverages are. You know, as just to starting with. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks. You know, I'm trying to recover.
She says ginger beer.
Ginger beer.
Oh, I hate ginger beer.
I love ginger beer.
No.
Oh yeah. I suppose and it is actually quite an acquired taste. Like, not a lot of people don't like ginger, so it's quite strange that would be their drink of choice just for the non-alcoholic option. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something Laura will ever order again. That doesn't have a high enough alcohol content. This is how she classes her wine, by the way. She orders, she's like, oh no, it's not high enough degrees. That's how it works. All right, as you guys continue asking us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, we'll continue with our theme of the week, which is about traveling in New Zealand in May. And we're going to begin with, or we're going to continue, sorry, with the typical temperatures that you can expect in May. Laura, take position. Okay, so the weather in May is basically the last month of autumn, so you can expect a significant amount of rain. We're getting closer to winter, so you will find warmer and technically for the average masses, I technically like winter, but for the average masses, you will find better weather usually on the North Island as opposed to the South Island. But nevertheless, let's go over some of the average temperature you can expect in New Zealand region by region. So if we begin with the northern New Zealand, which is Northland, Auckland and Tauranga, you can expect about 14 degrees Celsius, which is about 57 degrees Fahrenheit on average. In central North Island, which is Hamilton, Taupo and Rotorua, you can expect about 10 degrees Celsius, which is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are heading to southwest North Island in beautiful New Plymouth, Palmerston North, or in the capital city of Wellington, you can expect 12 degrees Celsius, which is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. And last section of the North Island, we have Eastern Northland, which is Gisborne, Napier, and Wairarapa. And again, that's about 12 degrees Celsius, which is 54 degrees Fahrenheit on average. So as you can tell, the North Island of New Zealand has, like the lowest of all the average regions will be the central North Island with about 10 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's still relatively mild. You won't get too cold. Now let's head to the South Island of New Zealand, and let's begin with Northern South Island, which is Blenheim and Nelson, where you can also expect about 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit on average in the month of May. In Northern South Island, in Western South Island, my apologies, which is Westport, Hokitika and Milford Sound, the temperatures are going to be ranging between 8 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius, which is 46 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit on average in the month of May. In eastern Southern, which is Kaikoura, where you can see the beautiful dusky dolphin we saw earlier on in this live show. Christchurch and Timaru, you can expect about 9 degrees Celsius, which is about 48 degrees Fahrenheit. In the inland Southend, which is like Tekapo, Queenstown, Alexandra, all those hotspots, the temperatures are going to range on average between 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, which is 39 to 43 degrees Fahrenheit. And finally, in southern New Zealand, which is Dunedin, Invercargill, and all the way to my favorite hotspot, Stewart Island, that's about 9 degrees Celsius, which is 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, all those temperatures are the temperatures that you can expect on average in the month of May in New Zealand during the daytime. We're not talking about night time at all. Here you go. Moving on. Laura will be back at some point. Where are we at? Yay! Sherry says that's not mild, though anything below 15 is cold for me. I think it's pretty good. I mean,
it's mild for New Zealand, that's for sure.
Kiwi Lauren shows up quite often in this live show, and she's coming up with crazy Canadian temperatures of minus 46 degrees Celsius. So yeah, no, I think that's actually pretty good as far as it comes for weather, especially kind of latitude and longitude that we are. We are relatively low, and Are we a sub-Antarctic island? Or is Stewart Island considered
Stewart Island is considered sub-Antarctic. Yes. Although it doesn't really, you wouldn't really think that, but it is chillier for sure. Like as you're traveling around New Zealand, you can really feel the difference in temperature if you are in, say, Auckland, which is actually considered, so even in the Northland region, the climate there is considered subtropical, and then as you're traveling further south,
you go to subantarctic.
You go to subantarctic by the time you get to Stewart Island. So it really, when people say like, "Oh, is New Zealand like, is it warm at this time of the year and stuff?" It really does depend on whereabouts in the country you're going. So that's why we go through all the temperatures for each sort of region of New Zealand. It really is different everywhere that you go.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about averages, right, as well. So, it could vary, and you will have some days which are higher, by default, if it's an average, right? And you will have some days which are lower.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sherry says we get 15 degrees in the middle of winter sometimes. Oh, man, that is hot. I like it.
I like that.
I like that. But, yeah. Now, New Zealand, and also the thing with those temperature, right? And we'll talk about rainfall soon. But, those temperature makes a big difference if it's windy or if it's rainy as well, right?
Yeah.
If I'm cold and wet and there is a lot, if I'm wet and in the winds and I'm at 10 degrees Celsius, it's not that great, right? But it's 10 degrees Celsius in the sun with no wind, you actually take off your jacket.
Yeah.
You generally do on a hike, right?
Yeah.
So you will have a very different behavior as to where you are with the exact same temperature during a hike, right? And even sometimes the same hike, right? You will have some exposed area where you are, atop mountains or something like that, where, you're going to be like right in the sun and you're going to be really, really hot. And, the temperature really doesn't change that much as you enter the forest, but you're going to be in the shade and it's going to be a bit more moist and wet in the air, and then you're going to feel significantly colder.
Yes.
So
very true.
Yeah, it's all a matter of, I feel that temperature is very much a matter of context rather than
and that's why it's always good to be prepared for anything. As I was saying at the beginning of this video with the tips for May, it's when you're out and about, it's just best to have like an extra layer in your day pack, a rain jacket, that sort of thing. You will not regret having those extra items in your bag if you start to feel the chill, or even if you start to get too hot, you have somewhere to put your jacket and things. So yeah.
Indeed, I totally agree. I actually think that it's time for us to talk about Armand. Armand is a French backpacker that travels to New Zealand, and he's taking a gap year. Now, Armand is not in New Zealand right now.
Yeah, he's taking a holiday away from his working holiday.
So let's check on Armand.
Guys, this is Armand reporting on what is technically the 28th week of my working holiday in New Zealand. But as you can see, I'm in Jeonju, South Korea right now. I came to South Korea on Thursday with Air New Zealand, and the craziest thing happened to me. While visiting the biggest palace in Seoul, I actually met the flight attendant from the flight that brought me to Seoul. His name is Zre, and we had lunch together. It was really fun. The day after, we went to Lotte World, which is a theme park together, and we really enjoyed it. Lots of fun rides there. I also had a photo shoot wearing the traditional hanbok dress in the Hanok village in Seoul. I have done quite a bit during the 4 days that I stayed in Seoul so far, so I can't go through everything, but the most important things I've done is just walking in the streets and taking photos and enjoying the street food. I really like the food here, by the way. It's tasty and diverse. I did a ghost stories tour of Seoul, which involves basically walking in the city at night with a guide who explained to us all the folk and the legends involving ghosts in South Korea. It was really fun and enlightening. I had no idea that ghosts were such a prominent part of the Korean folklore. I also did the demilitarized zone tour, which I really liked because I'm obviously very interested in Korean history and in history in general. And it was really impressive, the tunnel of third aggression, as the South Koreans call it. And we also went to the Dora Observatory, where we were able to get a view of North Korea from the other side of the DMZ. Unfortunately, the visibility was quite poor, so I did my best. I took a photo, which I then post-processed with Lightroom to get a clearer view of the village on the other side. I also went to Alpaca World, which, as the name suggests, involves interacting and feeding alpacas. And on that same day, we went to Nami Island, which is a small island on a river. Very beautiful places. I took lots of photos, which you can see. I think that's pretty much the most important things I've done so far. So until next week, guys, take care. Cheers.
Alright, so I'd like to address one quick thing right here. I know there is an image missing from that edit, it's just I haven't received it yet. So when we republish it in the middle of this week, we publish them every Thursday, New Zealand time. We publish this episode, you'll be able to see that. So yeah, happy times. Yeah, that's all I have as a comment. Korea looks fun.
It does look fun. I think the food looks amazing. Notably, the only food that we ever see Armand eating is when he leaves the country of New Zealand. So
New Zealand is not known for its food scene.
A lot of people always want to ask questions about the food in New Zealand, like, oh, where's the best food and stuff like that. But it's really like, that is not what you should be coming to New Zealand for.
Come for the landscape.
Come for the beautiful landscape. Come for the Maori culture, beautiful wildlife, etc., etc. But when it comes to food, I don't know, go to Korea.
Shall you say that looks really fun? I'm going to Korea next year. Yeah, that's fun. Wow, you're going to have a blast over there. That's going to be epic. Okay. So as you guys continue with your questions about traveling in New Zealand, we'll continue with our theme of the week. And now we're going to talk about the other weather patterns that you can expect in New Zealand in May. And we're going to talk mainly about rainfalls. So one thing to note about rainfalls in May is that, well, they're going to be much more frequent than in other months. And that you will be expecting... Laura, do you want to get yourself set up? I'm padding while you go get set up.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you're expecting other patterns.
I was waiting for the, go, Laura, go. Whoops.
All right. Anyway, Laura's ready. So let's talk about rainfall in May. So here are the average.
Padding, go on. I liked what you were going to say.
On average, what you can expect as rainfall region by region all around New Zealand in the month of May. Let's begin with northern New Zealand, which is Northland, Auckland and Tauranga. It's usually about 120 millimeters of rain, which is 4.7 inches. I still can't get over Central Hamilton, no, Central Northern, it's Hamilton, Topo, and Rotorua. This is a nonsense show right here. You can expect 100 millimeters of rain, which is 4 inches on average. In the southwest North Island, New Plymouth, Palmerston North, and Wellington expect about 120 millimeters worth of rain, which is 4.7 inches. In eastern North Island, we're looking at Gisborne, Napier, and Wairarapa. You can expect something much drier at around 60 millimeters of rain, which is 2.4 inches on average. Alright, so let's head to the South Island of New Zealand. I have weather patterns all over the place. Brace yourself. Okay, so we're going to begin with northern South Island, with Blenheim and Nelson, 80 millimeters worth of rain, which is about 3 inches. In the west coast, so western South Island, that's Westport, Hokitika, all the way down to the Fiordland National Park and the ever so popular Milford Sounds, you can expect between 250 to 450 millimeters. That's 10 to 18 inches worth of rain. So big difference from literally the next door region. Let's go back over the Southern Alps, and we're having the eastern South Island, Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Timaru, which is about 60 millimeters worth of rain, which is 2.4 inches. In inland South Island, which is Lake Tekapo, Queenstown, and Alexandra, you can expect between 30 to 50 millimeters worth of rain, which is 1 to 2 inches. And finally, in southern New Zealand, Dunedin and Invercargill, we have about 70 millimeters worth of rain, which is 2.7 inches on average. All right, so that's what you can expect rain-wise in New Zealand during the month of May. Here you go. I definitely got taken from left field right here.
I just didn't want to go too soon. I was waiting for you, Robin.
It's okay. Usually we're perfectly in sync.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. It's just a one-off, and it shows you guys that despite the fact that we've been doing those live shows for literally ever, it feels like
Literally.
Well, we've done more than 230, so we've done that for for about 5 years now. We still not perfectly in sync. Anyway, does it rain too much in May, Laura?
It rains a little bit in May. Too much? Probably not too much. It's kind of it's on and off. Is it May? It's not May now. It's April now.
It's April, yes.
Yeah, so it's on. Sorry, it's on and
Wow.
off. Sometimes you will get those days where it does rain all day, but then that's always coupled with some dry days. So like we said at the beginning of the video, it's just best to be prepared for those
Yeah.
rainy days, even if there's quick showers as well. Just make sure that you have a rain jacket. It's usually a good idea to get some walking shoes or hiking boots that are completely waterproof, like rain repellent waterproof, that sort of thing. Make sure they keep nice and dry on the inside, that sort of thing, because trying to dry out wet shoes while you're traveling around New Zealand is a nightmare. So it's really good to make sure that you have some good quality hiking shoes or boots.
Indeed, Exploring is Joy saying hello. That is the man of the hour. We watched his video a little earlier on today. Joy, if you're on the rewind, you're going to see us watch your video, which was quite fun. So yeah, if you guys want to follow him, there is his name and his username on there. And you can go on his YouTube channel. I think there's a couple of things, but he's mostly popular with the same username on Instagram. So it's on screen next to Laura.
Yeah.
But right here. There. Right. Sometimes people ask us to write on screen like the name of people we talk on Instagram, but it's on screen now. Here you go. Make life easier. Okay, so let's continue with our coverage of traveling in New Zealand in May, and let's talk about the best places to visit in May. And today we're going to go back and forth, so we're going to begin with the beautiful Laura. Laura, what is your favorite place to visit in May?
One really awesome place to visit in May is the capital of New Zealand, which is Wellington. So for those, sporadic days where you don't know what the weather's going to do, Wellington has various indoor attractions as well as amazing outdoor attractions. And May can be a good time to experience it all in Wellington.
Another great place to visit in May is the ever so popular Coromandel Peninsula. So the Coromandel Peninsula is usually really, really busy, especially on good weather day, because it's basically the escape for from Aucklanders. They just take a road trip and go explore that. So if you want to see it at its quietest, which is the best way to see it, go explore the Coromandel. You can go and dig your own hot pool at Hot Water Beach, which is really fun to do on a cold, rainy day. Head to Cathedral Cove if you want to see some of the filming location from the movie Narnia, or if you don't care about Narnia, a really amazing looking beach. And you can also check out some beautiful Kauri forests, which are those massive towering trees, which are definitely worth checking out.
Okay, next up we have Waitomo. So whatever the weather, the cave tours at Waitomo are usually running. So you can do various different caving tours where you can throw in a wetsuit, go underground tubing, you can do abseiling, all sorts of amazing caving adventures. But if you don't want to get wet, there's also the option to do walking tours in the caves and do a nice gentle boat tour under the glowworms. So you can do all that no matter what the weather's doing during May.
And so I was talking about the weather in the South Island, especially the rainfall. So if you are in the South Island in the month of May, you're going to get wet. But one of the driest part of the South Island is actually the town of Alexandra. As I was mentioning, it only gets between 30 to 50 millimeters of rain in the whole month. So therefore, it's a great place to hang out. It has more clement weather, yes, but it also has a lot of great things to do. It's not too far from some amazing hotspots such as Lake Tekapo, but it also has amazing cycle trails. So if you want to get a bit of exercise during the month of May, well, check out the town of Alexandra.
And finally, we have Dunedin, which is another city to explore. This one's in the South Island, and it has a good sort of variety of indoor and outdoor experiences as well, just like Wellington. But outdoors, you can go check out the Otago Peninsula, which is full of different wildlife. You can see seals, penguins, all that good stuff. But on those rainy days, you can always head into the various museums that there are, or go check out the bars and eateries of the Octagon.
Here you go, those are our favorite places to visit in New Zealand in May. Okay, Joey is saying, except any love thrown my way. What was the best part of this video?
So in terms of like the activities, that looked amazing. It looked really awesome to do the dolphin swimming in Kaikoura, like seeing those dolphins come so close and look really curiously at you as you're filming them is really cool. But in terms of like the filming aspects of things, I really like the time lapse of the Waio Tapu. So seeing like the steam sort of in a time lapse motion was just like, that was just really awesome to see in all the vibrant colors as well.
You stole mine.
I did give two, but
yeah. So no, I did really like the time lapse of Waio Tapu. I think that it's not often that we actually can witness the fact that the Earth is a living, breathing entity. And I feel like visiting some of the geothermal parks of New Zealand really showcase that to you. You can see that there are things happening below ground that, yeah, we take for granted, right? Like the Earth doesn't belong to us, we belong to it, right? And so we really often forget that. And there is a lot of things happening, beneath the surface. And it's really cool to... It's really cool to be able to witness that during geothermal tours. And when you put on the time lapse, us as pesky humans, when we get bored really quickly, to just see a little bit of smoke here and there. With a bit of a time lapse, you can see a bit of a fast speed, right? Not every living species on this planet actually lives at the same pace than we do, right? Like you see that a lot with like plants and trees and everything, right? It takes multiple decades for trees to grow and to fully mature. Like for the span of like one human lifetime, this tree maybe only at a quarter of its life, right? So they have very different kind of perception, I guess, of time, right? I don't know if a tree has perception in some sort of aspect. They must perceive time in very, very different fashion. They wouldn't have the notion of what 30 seconds is because it's too short for them. So like seeing those kind of shots, just kind of, I really enjoy that.
Makes you think deeply about
exactly.
things.
Yeah. Well, here you go. I thought deeply. Isn't it what art is supposed to do? It's supposed to be thought-provoking. Otherwise, it doesn't make you feel anything. It's not art, it's fart. So here you go.
Well, fart makes you feel things as well.
Yeah, well, it makes you leave the room usually. All right, so Exploring Zoe says the time lapse worked out perfectly. I was so happy. Yeah, that was pretty good. How long did it take you to do in
how long was the one of the Champagne Pool? Like how long of a time lapse was that?
And for those that don't know, Champagne Pool is, well, I'd say one of the main attractions of the Waio Tapu Geothermal Park. It is the one that we saw that was the orange
Orange
the orange-looking
lines,
lake.
yeah.
And it's not really orange. It's like deposits on there. The water is not orange, but that's what that is. That's what's called Champagne Pool. So yeah, here you go. Okay, so while Joey is going to give us his answer, the long-awaited answer of how long it took to take the time lapse, we'll get back to our coverage of traveling in May. So Laura, is there a few things that one must pack before traveling in New Zealand in May to wrap us up?
Yes, there are several things one must pack, several seasonal things that is always good to take. So number one on the list should be a rain jacket. It can rain at any time when you're out and about while you're traveling in May, so you definitely want to make sure that you have a rain jacket. Make sure you have some warm mid layers. So what I mean by mid layers is more like what I'm wearing now, just like sort of a warm hoodie or a warm sort of jumper, something that you can throw on top of your other clothes just if you need that extra little bit of warmth while you're out and about. We also recommend actually having some thermal underlayers, so that's more like, a nice warm long sleeve top or even a warm sort of wool t-shirt or something. Usually we say cotton's not so good, keeping yourself warm while in New Zealand. So if you can go for something like wool or merino wool, or there's other more synthetic fabrics as well, then yeah, that's usually a good idea. So starting off with like a thermal underlayer is a good idea. In terms of socks, wool socks is good. If you do end up getting your feet wet, then at least wool socks dry out better. They keep your feet warmer than cotton socks. As I mentioned earlier in the video, waterproof hiking shoes or hiking boots is an absolute must, so that, when it is raining, the water just repels off the shoes and you're not getting that soaking into your feet, because that is never fun, and that just keeps your whole body cold once your feet get wet. And then finally, you do want to take some swimwear to New Zealand in May, even though the temperatures are getting colder. But New Zealand has lots of reasons to throw on your swimwear, so especially hot pools is one thing. So if you want to get out of the cold into a nice warm hot pool, there's options for that. But also if you want to do some of the adventure activities, like we talked about caving in Waitomo, but even whitewater rafting is still happening in May, and canyoning, that sort of thing, then you can do that in May, and it's still really enjoyable to do, even though, we're at the end of autumn and we're heading into the winter season.
Hey, here are the things that you need to pack for traveling in May, and that's going to wrap us up for our coverage of traveling in New Zealand in May. There is plenty more information on NZ Pocket Guide. If you want to check that out, there is a link in the description of this video. What is Fabio saying?
Fabio says, Morena guys, today I have still a few things on my schedule. That's why I wish you a good and populated live stream. All love. See you maybe later or next time. Thanks for popping in, Fabio.
Yeah, indeed. Fun times. What do you want to say? Oh, yeah. Speaking of videos and everything, this week we published one of the longest videos to edit I've ever done, which is the complete travel guide to Fiji. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, go for it, or I may just delete it and republish it because I may need to work on the audio. But I did work on that, and yeah, I'd like people to check it out at some point. That'd be great. All right, so yeah, as I was talking about, that we have a link in the description of this video for NZ Pocket Guide. So on there, we also do have like a complete travel guide for New Zealand in May as well, which is a bit less about the weather, but it's more about also like the places which are cool to visit and our suggestions for traveling then. So
different events that are happening in May, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth checking out as well if you're planning a trip to New Zealand in May, because, well, it definitely is a month where you want to be a bit more prepared. A lot of people are coming to New Zealand expecting always kind of like the weather that they see. I feel like New Zealand is a destination where people still don't grasp that the weather can change so much. So do make sure that you're well prepared. If you're planning on doing a few hikes around, I will also say that on top of Laura's packing list, I will actually say that it will be quite important to actually have a cover for your pack. If you get drenched and all your belongings inside your bag get drenched, that is just a bit much.
Yeah, you don't want to get all those extra layers that you've packed all wet inside your bag. So yeah, you can get these nice little a lot of even the size for your day pack, some nice little covers that are waterproof covers, and they have like an elastic band that will sort of keep it on the back, but also has a little bit of a tie as well, just in case the wind blows it off, which can happen. And has happened to us on occasion, but luckily you can tie it up on the bottom of your backpack and make sure that it doesn't fly away. But yeah, that's a really good extra tip to have. So make sure you try and keep everything dry.
I do remember that time when we went to Edoras, which is called Mount Sunday in New Zealand, and that damn
So windy.
that damn cover for the bag kind of flew away, and we're like, no, we ran after it. We caught it, but it was quite a big sprint, you know. I was like, wow. I channeled my inner Usain Bolt and bolted after that.
Yes, you
that
definitely
thing.
look like him.
Yes,
So fast.
I know. So yeah, it can happen, but you know, it's fine. Joey says my answer is above. What did I miss?
He says, I took a 30-second time lapse. So we're talking about the geothermal steam of the champagne pool at Waiotapu. So it was a 30-second time lapse. Probably left it filming for 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, so you don't have to. You don't have to leave it too long to actually get a cool effect on it. So that's pretty cool. I wonder what would have happened if you committed to it and did a half an hour or an hour. You know, could have been that could have been kind of a fun one too.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Joey is sympathizing. He says that the wind up there was ridiculous. It is quite something. I think it has to be the windiest place in New Zealand.
They say that it is like that area is one of the windiest places because it's sort of like the valley acts as a funnel for the wind coming through. So
for the people, where is Mount Sunday? What are we talking about right here? Just give some context of what we're talking about right here.
Yeah, so Mount Sunday is located right in the sort of center of the South Island. It's inland about 2 to 3 hours from Christchurch. So you're getting sort of into the Southern Alps, but and then Mount Sunday is sort of like a small isolated mountain in a really vast valley, and that's what they used to film Edoras in The Lord of the Rings.
Yes, and they had a lot of hard time up there.
Yes, a lot of windy conditions to deal with.
The making of The Lord of the Rings, the sections where they're there is actually quite hilarious because that damn wind. I don't even know how they get audio over there. Like, it's just, you know.
I know.
Like an old time,
They have to wait for the perfect moment, like the perfect conditions to film, I guess. But yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, they play sort of as you're driving. If you go on the Lord of the Rings tour with hassle-free tours from Christchurch, they show a lot of the making of videos because it is quite a long journey from Christchurch. They show a lot of making of videos as you're driving to Edoras, and they show you a lot of the stuff, to do with Edoras while you're driving there. And also your tour guide has a lot of sort of anecdotal stories to tell as well, which is quite cool.
Joey says the Edoras theme is now running in my head. Adil is asking, Robin, are you talking about the Fiji video that has already been released? Yes, it was released on Wednesday, if I'm correct. I can't remember days. Days are
but
hard
sometime
for me.
this week, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one that I released then. So if you want to check it out, I think it's called The Ultimate Guide to Traveling to Fiji or some things like that. It says, if so, I have watched the video and the audio was fine. Oh, it's nice to hear that it was fine. I improved it a little bit. Like when I rewatched it, myself, just to see like the quality, because when you edit it and then you upload it online, the quality is less good. So I just wanted to check the quality. And so when I rewatched it, I was like, I think I may be able to do something even better with the audio. So yeah, so I may deal with it. We'll see. It's just windy. It just winds. Wind's not fun. Wind's not fun for audio. It's as simple as that, you know.
And a lot of waves and stuff crashing.
Lot of wind in between the coconut trees. So yeah. Speaking of Edoras, so next week the theme that was chosen by our lovely Patreon is going to be the best filming locations in New Zealand. So we'll talk about a lot of different locations that are, that have appeared in movies. It's gonna be heavily Lord of the Rings centered. Let's be honest.
It's the main filming that happens.
But we'll try to pick some different stuff from like different other movies as well, which was quite cool. And so we'll cover that with you guys, and I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. And will Edoras make an appearance?
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, all right, fine.
It will, yeah.
I haven't prepared the show yet, so I don't know if it's gonna make a difference, but we'll see.
Yeah.
What is Joey saying?
Joey says, what do you think of the Cook Islands footage? I got badly sunburnt and missed out on the turtle encounters. I went shirtless like a boss. I have to admit, I also got sunburnt on my first snorkeling in the Cook Islands as well. And yeah, since then, we have invested in some really good rash vests.
Yeah, also, we put sunscreen. Like, Laura just,
I just forgot to reapply.
Yeah, she when you travel in some of those South Pacific islands, right, you've got to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours at minimum, right? And that was 3 hours, and then she jumped in the water.
Yeah, but that's the thing also. That's why I actually recommend that anyone traveling to those like tropical islands definitely get like a rash vest or a rash top, that sort of thing, because like reapplying sunscreen all the time is a bit of a mission.
Oh yeah, it is.
And when you're snorkeling as well, it can wash off after a while. You're in and out of the water. It's just make it so much easier for yourself and get one of those like rash tops. They just like completely give you peace of mind when it comes to that, because you will get sunburn on your back. Like it just happens so fast when you're snorkeling.
Yeah, and so we have invested in Rash's vest. Oh, I'm supposed to review them soon, so yeah, I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, so we'll post a review actually of those on the channel.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's definitely a must when you travel in South Pacific Islands. So important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to be if you don't apply the sunscreen and you don't wear a Rash's vest, then you have to apply aloe vera every 2 hours as well, because you're badly burned. Because it burns.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes down to your footage, yeah, that's pretty cool, mate. Always a big sucker for underwater footage, especially those.
I love how clear the water is.
Yeah, especially those little fish and the coral. I absolutely love that. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, what did we? That was we thought that was Captain Tama, Lagoon Cruise. We're pretty sure that's what it was. So we called on that. So yeah, I think that's kind of what we say. But yeah, feel free to rewind to see what we're saying about it.
Yeah.
He say, I put on sunscreen, just applied it once. I wish I had coconut oil. Sunscreen in the island is way more than once. We talk about it all the time, even in New Zealand, not just once and do it for the day. That is insane.
Yeah, every couple of hours is a good idea. Good way to go.
Yeah. So yeah, the sun in this part of the world is very harsh. Even in New Zealand, we talk about it quite a lot.
Yeah. And needless to say, in the islands, when you are snorkeling with beautiful coral and fish, then you absolutely must apply reef-safe sunscreen in standard sunscreen.
Leave your Nivea or Cancer Society sunscreen at home. They are bad for your skin and bad for the planet.
Yeah.
And go for something reef-safe.
Obviously reef-safe. Should go without saying, but still people are using some of the older, not so good stuff.
He said, one of the fish that I filmed swam into my camera, literally almost knocked it out of my hands. If you look closely in the video, you'll see it happen. Oh, cool. That is fun. That is always cool to have the wildlife coming to check you out. When you feel like the wildlife comes toward you, that means that you're less of an intrusion. And I think that's kind of that's a testament of like, okay, now I'm not doing something too bad and I feel good. If the wildlife is running away from you, then, you're bothering them. And therefore, it's kind of like you are a detriment to them. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's definitely the way to experience the beautiful nature
of
anywhere, of New Zealand, of the South Pacific Islands, of the world.
What she says. All right, everybody. Well, on that note, we will leave you to have a fantastic week. We are going to be back for you guys next week at 8 a.m. on Sunday. It's happening every week. We'll talk about beautiful scenic locations to visit in New Zealand. This week, we've got an episode of Armand, which is going to be in South Korea, as mentioned. We're also going to have, the weather in May coming out. And, maybe an extra video. We'll see what I come up with. And right after this video, if you are a Patreon member, you can join me for another hour of Q&A, chatting about stuff. It's a bit more, uncensored.
Cash.
Yeah, it's a bit more casual. It's very candid, and we'll talk about traveling New Zealand even more, and even something a little special that I'm pretty excited to share with you guys this week. So yeah, that's what is happening. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for liking and subscribing. If you are watching a replay of this, talk to us in the comments. We'd like to hear your thoughts. If you like the show, if you don't like the show, just anything like that. We get very little interaction from people which are watching replays, except the fact that there's about 100 of you guys that watch a replay every week. So tell us who you are. Tell us if you have any questions. I'll be happy to take them for you next week or something like that. All right. In the meantime, you all have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.
See you next week.